Onde for vodka?
Yeah.
Oh, and you just don't know. Not one person. You know how that fine.
그래.
뭐 플레이바이.
Guys, this is track 1 of the soundtrack of London. We have a siren going off every 7
അമ്മ ഫോട്ടോ എടുക്കാൻ നിന്നെ ഇല്ല.
Je les vois.
雖然細啲，吹來吹去。
Anne's mother hated college football. Being Salem. She would go into the ring and rank. Go walk with that at all. Oh my God. It's got a green flag above it.
Kurna tam przewodu.
Me gusta que
Why? Ja. Maar het vind ik niet.
I didn't really. Oh, no, I'm not completely crazy. They do. I don't know how it works. I don't.
You mind if I just get that?
Oh, so right.
Yeah.
So you were going through here. Okay. You must have gone in there and out the other side. That.
然后你是连转进去，然后直接亲到这个腰部直接。哎，对。
Ça veut dire que j'ai développé beaucoup de dynamisme. Le Parlement, ici, c'est deux chambres. La Chambre des communes et la Chambre des Lords. Les Lords, c'est la plus vieille chambre.
però capisco.
Lo slice paper 那个煎饼。
外观看起来。你看我们的时间就越来越少了，因为原来这上面写的是不低于1个半小时的。
你多逛点。
对。对。
都是有我只有今天没有安排。
哎，对，你很英明。
那是的呀。
这样很英明。
你要多逛，我都不介意。
对。
你觉得好玩，多逛。
对。
多听听。
对，是啊。因为唐宁街啊，什么能看到最好。
看得到，就外观。对。
这位也是热爱这个项目。这是看
cose che si sono importanti.
They're leaving us.
So you're good. Can you keep it to that? 왜냐면
You know the reason behind it.
can't look at them. You gotta save them.
It's like baby shower.
Yeah. So you got 2 baby books.
Oh, you want us to bring the phone, but we can't.
We'll do it in this gym.